call your girl. She's all in my mentions, trying to hit me up for some oral sessions. Oh!
Sit back, relax, and enjoy as Don Toni gives you news and reviews from AEW.
Welcome to the party!
NXT.
It's over! Bronson here to ransack
And indie wrestling. It's Wednesday night, Don-O-Mite.
Know what's happening in the world of wrestling without the hate and clickbait. And now, your host, Don Toni.
Did I ever think that Ricky Vaughn and Mox would actually intertwine in some capacity on AEW Dynamite? No. But anybody that's been following the show for a long time knows. You know, Mr. Vaughn used to always hang out in that corner over there. Mox as well. Mox bringing back for the second week in a row the Wild Thing song. But this time, contrary to what people think, no, that was not Joan Jett. That was the group X. And believe it or not, for people that don't know, the lead singer, I think her name was Christine Chervenkova. I actually used to like their music in the early 80s. That song, Wild Thing, the rendition that was done by the group X, that we all remember from the movie Wild Thing, of course, they came out with that song 5.5 years before it ever aired on Wild Thing. That actually came out in around 1984, believe it or not. So, all right, you're saying that I have some audio issues? Do I have to just drop this mic a little bit? Is that a little bit better? Let me know if that's better. I was messing around with the audio. It says I'm underwater. Hold on. Is that a little better? Hold on. How's that now? Okay. Is that better now? I was tweaking settings earlier. You know why? Okay, good. Yes. My apologies for the first 45 seconds. I don't know if you understood what I said or if it was just... You know, I'm here on YouTube, and I'll always offer an audio-only version. And yes, about 80% of everybody who enjoys my work access audio only. But, you know, sometimes when you're constantly tweaking things back and forth, doing a video show and then converting into audio, levels go off. So Monday, I had a few complaints from people that were just audio only saying, oh, Mish's audio was this loud and this. So I started messing around with the settings. So, yeah, I just had to tweak it a little bit here. You try to make everybody happy, you know, but look, I appreciate everybody's feedback. It's the only way I make things better. So, as I was saying, sorry for repeating myself. How many months? Like 10 months? We had Ricky Vaughn in the corner over there. Did I ever think that the most famous theme from my favorite sports movie of all time, Major League, would end up being Jon Moxley's theme? Yes, tribute to Onita, as we talked about last week. But I think it's pretty cool. And, you know, the Group X, as I said while I was underwater, my apologies, you know, they came out with that variation of Wild Thing in 1984. And I remember going to high school. It was like freshman year of high school. And people were blasting that version of it. You know, it didn't really pick up any steam or momentum in 1984. When Major League came out in 89, and then they brought that rendition back, that's where everybody fell in love with it. So I really, really enjoy this version 1,000 times more than the original one that came out in the 60s. So, yeah, Conor McGregor fan, absolutely. A lot of people have been trying to get me underwater for years and years and years. They'll never do it. They'll never do it. And I love when the chickens come to roost. Some people out there, they like to talk a lot of shit and behind people's backs. And then sooner or later, karma catches up to them. And when they realize that, all the people that they're giving the tweet hand jobs to and all the, they ain't going to bail them out at the end of the day. So honestly, as long as you keep tuning in, I will keep banging these out. Tonight, we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite. Tonight, we're going to talk about NXT. Tonight, we're going to talk about the releases from NXT. Expect a few more. You might remember, I talked about it last week, saying that there was a bunch of names on the cutting block for NXT, but I'm not one of those that puts names out there first before it's confirmed. I felt bad for Killian Dain today, because yes, he was released, but I saw a few people, I heard Killian Dain was released. I'm going to confirm it. What are you, stupid? Out of respect to the guy, you confirm it first, then you report it. Jesus Christ. I hate when people do that stuff. Remember, I don't want to be first. I want to be right. But he's gone. I think everybody's ecstatic about that NXT referee, Drake Wirtz. Look, he has a right to his opinion. But when you do it on a Zoom call wearing the NXT shirt, I think that was pretty much the beginning of the end of his demise. And for him, he really believes in his head. He believes in his head that the masks are, look, he could have worded it a little bit better, because some of what he's saying actually does make a point. When you go to rob a bank or rob a bodega, before COVID ever came around, they don't walk in with their hair all groomed, nice, cleanly shaven, some aftershave, nice shirt. They're walking like this. Give me your fucking money. Give me your money, bitch. So when people wear masks, yes, it does invite more crime, because you can't see half the person's face. I mean, could you imagine going to a club, you're trying to meet someone, and you can't see half their face, and then they reveal it, and some chick's got a big mustache, or somebody's got buck teeth or yellow teeth, with corn like in the middle, the big. Remember the woman from Good Times? What was her name? May? Oh, God. See, now I just opened Pandora's basket. Who was the King, right? Was that her last name? Somebody bail me out. Who is the star, the mom in Good Times? Absolutely loved that show growing up. But she had that giant space between her teeth that I always wondered when she was a kid if she played like softball in school. Did she, spit? Florida was her name on the show, but what was her real name? Esther Roll. Thank you, Rocky Red. I know there's some old folk like me that remember those shows. And by the way, with all these remakes and stuff, I've said it before, and I'm not trying to get all political today, but you don't remake Good Times with a white family. There's some movies and TV shows that reflect society, culture, the struggle. And when I see movies being redone simply to put a different racial element on it, they should have stopped when they did the remake of The Honeymooners back in the day. Was it Bernie Mac? Did he do that? Oh, that was awful. How he got on this, I have no idea. But look, the big news coming out of today, so big, they didn't talk about it on Dynamite really at all. AEW is going to TBS. Now, the press release, which I have here, I will read it to you. It's very short. The press release is that in January 2022, AEW is moving to TBS. I made a couple of emails and DMs to some people to try to get some more information other than the press release. And remember that you heard it here. Because a lot of things that we talk about here, no one ever talks about. I don't give some specifics sometimes out of respect for people, because I feel they're the ones that should be able to reveal the info themselves. You know, when we talked about it on Sunday with The Miz, I said he's going to be taking time off for a little while. You know, I had got a DM that, he's injured. You know, we just talked about how the guy never gets injured. He's injured. So I kept it very vague. Talked about the NXT releases last week, but definitely did not want to mention names. It's not fair for the people. Because if you start throwing names out there, first of all, imagine how you would feel that you go online, whether you're liked or not, and you see on social media your name plastered everywhere that you're going to be released. And imagine if it's wrong. And even if it's right. You know, that's like such a disrespectful. And look at Daniels. I mentioned it on Friday, but I didn't get a chance to mention it last week, obviously, because I do this show right after AEW goes off the air. But you had all these goofs last week saying that Daniels bladed. Christopher Daniels bladed. And you know what? It's actually worth me pulling up the picture, because I have it pretty much right on the horizon over here. Here it is. Here it is. People, everybody's 4K TV suddenly disappeared because nobody could take a 4K screenshot of Dynamite last week. They just saw in the far distance, looked like a piece of chewing gum wrapper. But it was so cloudy, they said, oh, no, he bladed. He bladed. Terrible, disgusting, he bladed. So amateurish. Why would you put it next to the person's head? Yeah, well, if he bladed, I don't want to use the P word that rhymes with, well, it sounds like the wrestling writer John Pollock. Take away an L. You got these dumb morons out there. Christopher Daniels would be the biggest fool in the world if he bladed and decided, I'm going to blade my eye. I fucking hate social media with a passion. No, that was not makeup, Stefan Beck. He legitimately had the stitches in the eye. You could see it a mile away. I am the ring post. The ring post does not move. Bust your head into it, you bleed. You bleed badly. So, anyway, you're hearing it here first. TNT, Turner Networks, are looking to put Dynamite on TBS earlier than January 2022. January 22 was the official press release that was issued today. But do not be surprised. Maybe not in the next month or two, because we're still in the month of May. But you're going to start hearing rumblings as the months go by that they could very well make the move to TBS in 2021. So I'm telling you. So everybody thinks January 22, January 1st, whatever date it is, what day is. Let me go ahead on my calendar. Let me check this out. All right, January 1st, 2022 is a Saturday. So it really would have nothing to do with Dynamite. But do not be surprised when you hear that AEW is going to move to TBS sooner than January 2022. Obviously, things could change. For those that are wondering, because they never mentioned that they were going to stay on Wednesday nights as well, point those things out. But I think Wednesday night should remain for AEW, because right now on TBS, you know what they air on Wednesday nights between 8 and 10? A giant block of The Big Bang Theory. That's what they air. And I'm not dissing that show. I was never a fan of it, but I know people that really enjoyed that show, The Big Bang Theory. But that is the block. Now, Benjamin, why are they moving to TBS? Well, first of all, look at the Wednesday night block on TBS. 4 or 5 hours of The Big Bang Theory. You know, people don't want to binge watch that every single day or every single week. That's first off. Second off, you have sports that TNT wants to air on TNT when it happens on Wednesdays. Basketball, hockey. There's rumors of Turner Networks negotiating with other sports down the line. So they don't want to jump into TBS. You know, I've watched baseball games on TBS. I like TBS. You know, it's a household name for me. And for those that are nervous, TBS and TNT Network, pretty much the same number of subscribers. I don't have the exact number offhand, but the last I saw was about 12 million subscribers in the United States. So you're not losing anything by moving to TBS. And listen, everyone out there, if you're an AEW fan and you find out that next week they're going to move to TBS permanently, it is as simple as just going on your remote and just bookmarking TBS instead of TNT. That's it. That's it. It's not brain surgery. If the numbers go, people didn't realize that they're on TBS. Come on. People aren't that, mushed in the head. So, trying to find a piece of paper. Should I use my instructions for the headphones? All right, so that is the deal. Let me read you the press release. Let's get this out of the way now. This is what AEW said today. All Elite Wrestling franchise will grow its footprint with a move to Dynamite in TBS January 2022. Until then, presence on TNT remains robust in 2021 with the addition of the new hour-long series AEW Rampage. That will debut Friday, August 13th at 10 p.m. So right after SmackDown ends, you could watch AEW Rampage on TNT from 10 to 11 p.m. on Friday nights. Now, my immediate thought was, number one, Friday night, Rampage, I'm here doing the Don Toni show at 10:05 p.m. So obviously I got to think about what I do about it now. Do I keep the same time? Do I go to 11:05? I don't know. I got to get more information of what this show is going to be. If it's going to be like Shotgun Saturday Night, let me tell you something. Even though your goal back in the day was to go out with your friends, go out on a date, go to a club, go out, just hang out with your buddies, but if you were home on a Saturday night, taking in a little bit of Shotgun Saturday Night was pretty freaking awesome, man. So Friday night, 10 to 11 p.m., if they could do something like Shotgun Saturday Night, I'm buying in. I'm buying in for it. I actually like it. Stefan making the Don Toni Show Patreon exclusive. I don't know how long Patreon is going to be around. All right. This is my home. Not a diss to Patreon. Patreon is a blend of myself, Mish, Kev Castle is still on the channel for now. We're all on the channel for now. But I don't know what happens 6 months from now. I don't know what happens a year from now. This is my home, and the only way that I go bye-bye on YouTube is if you either stop tuning in or I die. Or if I get an ultimatum from my better half. It's either me or the shows. And I don't think that'll ever happen, to be honest with you. So, this is my home. So, but anyway, we'll adjust accordingly. No issues. If AEW Friday night ends up being like an AEW Dark, and the matches are really one-sided and they're squashes and it's really just like, then, we keep everything as it is. We'll see what happens. We could even turn it into like a little bit of a watch-along. We could do the Don Toni Show recap SmackDown. I could have AEW Rampage in the background, and if anything is really noteworthy, I could be like, oh, look. So we'll see what happens. We'll work on it. Now, another thing is... And I know I tweeted it first. I know Costanza responded to me. So if you look at the timestamp, you'll see I wrote it before anyone else. But I deleted it because I was like, and I'm not going to be one of these goofs that get all run into this contest to make the joke that the TNT title, they obviously have to change it now because they're moving to TBS. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, no. Why do you have to change the name of the title? I know the title is defended on TNT, and it's the TNT Championship. But TBS, TNT are owned by the same conglomerate. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to change the TNT title. It makes more sense if you do. But you can't start. This is why when they first came out with the TNT Championship, we understood it was to cater to the network, and a title being defended on behalf of the network was, a nice gesture. But nobody expected Brody Lee to pass away and have an impressive run with that championship. And that championship took a different meaning. Darby Allin, I mean, look, a year ago we were calling him Darby Dumbass, and Darby Allin has definitely, tweaked and matured and put it a lot more together than before. And the TNT Championship is like their Intercontinental title. It's like their U.S. title. And this is what happens when you take a title that was more of a gesture, something for the network, and you don't have a secondary belt. They should have had a secondary belt, and the TNT Championship could have been treated more like a TV title, not an Intercontinental or a U.S. title. That's what it feels like. It is the secondary belt for AEW. My opinion, they should seriously consider creating a secondary title before the end of the year, and let that be one step below the heavyweight title. It's not going to demean or diminish the value of a TNT championship or the TBS champion, whatever it's going to be. But I truthfully, remember back in the day, remember the intros? For newer listeners out there, this is how far I go back. When we used to have the intros that Mish used to make for me, for about 9 months on my intro, it's like TNA, what are you waiting for? Make a secondary title. What the fuck are you doing? That was before they ever came out with these other secondary belts. I think AEW needs to create a second title. This way, the TNT Championship is more intended to be defended on television, whether it's TBS. They're still doing 4 specials a year. They're still doing Rampage on TNT. Make the TNT Championship defended on Rampage. Problem solved. Get a secondary title. Secondary title has nothing to do with the network. It is themed for AEW. Secondary title could be defended on pay-per-views, TV, wherever you want to do it. And then you take the TNT Championship, have it defended on Rampage. Let that be the main event almost every week on Rampage. Problem solved. Just my opinion. Yes, you are 100% right. Chibara. Some of you are old if you know why I'm doing that. TNT is also another name for Dynamite. Absolutely. But that belt, you look at the logo, I mean, that's meant for the network. So I'm not one of those that necessarily feels you need to change the title. Create a secondary title. Just my honest opinion. So that is the deal with AEW. There's really no reason for me to read any more of this. Some quotes from Tony Khan. It's a pleasure to be able, this is Sam Linsky, the Associate General Manager and Programming Operations of TBS, TNT, and True TV. Now remember, something that nobody talked about today. Do you remember the changeover of the executives for Turner last year? And there was a little bit of rumblings about how the new execs would feel about AEW. And then you're seeing these over-the-top, like matches that should be on pay-per-view, and they're blowing their loads on regular TV to pop the rating. Then you heard that rumor of, that they didn't like surprises. They wanted to be announced so it could pop a better rating on TV. And then, like I said, Tony Khan ran for the first major radio show he could be on to try to dispel that rumor. That's how much it was concerning that came out. Now they're going to TBS after all. So, like I said, in this press release, I didn't see anything about it remaining on Wednesday night. I think they'll stay on Wednesday nights. I really believe that. But again, do not be surprised. You start hearing rumors that they may go to TBS before the end of the year, because that's what's being discussed right now. Why wait to January 22? The Big Bang Theory is not killing it in the ratings. You look at preemptions. Look at preemptions next week. I don't know what I should do about my show here next week. Next week, AEW is not on Wednesday. It is going to air next Friday after SmackDown, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's being preempted because of sports. So next Wednesday night, there's no wrestling. Nothing. So, my question to all of you is, should I still come up here 10:05? There's a couple of ways I could do this. I could come up here 10:05 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday, and we could talk about NXT and whatever else we feel like talking about, but there's no live shows to recap. Or I do no show next Wednesday, period, or I do a show here live on YouTube next Tuesday night at 10:05 p.m., and then Patreon I do next Wednesday at 10:05 p.m. So we just flip-flop the days. So the more I think about it, I think I like the idea of coming up here next Tuesday night because, look, you got Balor versus Cross, too. That definitely is worthy to get some coverage. Now there's rumors that this missing person, my God, everybody, we picked up on it at the 3-week mark, and no one else was really paying attention to it. Now it's turning into a goddamn joke. 7 weeks, everyone. 7 weeks. I mean, when we did that at week 3, people like, oh, no, they're just recharging their batteries. No, is it going to be concerned about in week 4, in week 5, in week 6, now week 7. How do you keep her off TV? I mean, I like Sarray and everything like that, and I know they're trying to build her up also, but, man, NXT only got 700,000 in the ratings this week. And that is terrible. Last week, it was 697? Think of how they hyped up this week's NXT. And I know the focus mostly was Gargano versus Bronson Reed in a cage, and I'm happy that Bronson Reed got the championship. He's very, very agile, big man, and, very well liked. And, so I had no issues with it. But they are really becoming inconsistent. It feels like they have too many people on NXT's roster. Because look at the consistency of Adam Cole. TakeOver happened how many weeks ago? And, they do that one interview and then he's gone. Kyle O'Reilly shows up once, has a match, and then he's off TV. Dexter Lumis, they keep him out of this storyline with Indy Hartwell for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden, he does love me. They are just a fucking mess right now, NXT. And I love all the goofs. Now because it's unopposed. No. NXT is just to bring up the young stars. That's what we've been saying since day one. The problem is, you put somebody on TV, you take them off for 2 or 3 weeks. You put them on TV, you take them off for a month. You put someone on TV, you build them up to the moon, and then they're off TV for 7 weeks. No COVID, no wellness violation, no injury, no deportation, no visa issues, no management problems. They just don't have nothing. Karrion Kross, remember those 3 weeks? He comes out there, I challenge anybody. The following week, he's in a gorilla position watching Kyle O'Reilly walk by. It's not his fault, obviously. The next week, nothing. Now you want to boost up Balor Cross too? Like we're supposed to give a shit about it? Bobby Fish comes back, and it feels so random. And then the worst part, like I said last week, and this was my biggest problem last week about Balor and Cross, and I'm sorry for repeating it. But the week before, you had Cross destroy Austin in Theory. And then Cross turns around, and Finn Balor is there. Oh, by the way, I went into my old boxes. I found my sealed, never had any labels on it. It's not mint condition because there's a little bit of wear, but this is the New Jack figure. God rest his soul. Tomorrow night, I think we'll be playing a little bit more of that clip that I shared the other day with New Jack Axelrod and myself and the Mass Maniac from 15 years ago. I'm probably going to share more of that on Thursday. Got a lot of requests from all of you out there. So I think that will be the bonus media tomorrow. So no indie wrestling stuff of yours truly. No Captain Lenny stuff tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll play some clips of New Jack because I got tens of hours of crazy shit. So, yeah, so I have every ECW figure sealed in the package. People have been telling me for ages, put them up on eBay as a set, you'll get $2-3 grand for it. That's how crazy it is. The New Jack figure right now, I think, is selling for about $150. But if you look at it closely, they got price tags on it, and some people that were foolish enough to try to remove it, and then you have that gummy residue. Oh, let me take it off. It'll be worth more. Not realizing that when a price tag is on an item for 22 years, it ain't coming off. And the more you try to take it off gently, the more you screw up your package. And then what you end up doing out of frustration, fuck it, and you just rip the whole thing open, and it's not worth nothing. It's worth, obviously. So 2 weeks ago, Cross destroys Austin Theory, turns around, Balor's behind him, and overly scripted. I want a rematch with you. I want it more than you. Then the next thing you know, music interrupts. Pete Dunne. I want the title too. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And then Kyle O'Reilly comes out. Next thing you know, we got a four-man brawl. And that was actually the week before Austin Theory getting annihilated by Cross. No, I just mixed the two. Let me take a step back for a minute. You had Cross got confronted from Balor, and then Pete Dunne comes out. No, don't leave me out. Prove me wrong. I want the title. And then Kyle O'Reilly comes out, and then you got this four-man brawl, which ends with Gargano and Theory laying out Karrion Kross. Okay, fine. I love this segment. Last week, Kross destroys Austin Theory, turns around, Finn Balor's behind him, wants the rematch. I want it more than you. How come Pete Dunne didn't come out last week? Why didn't Kyle O'Reilly come out last week? Was the ice cream man outside? Did they do potty and couldn't get out of the toilet or the turlet, as some people say, the turlet? Why didn't they come out? Why would they allow, in storyline, Finn Balor to confront Karrion Kross the next week? I want a rematch. I want it more than you. It's on. And they just disappear. What was the point of the brawl the week before? All of these things, amateur or not, rookie minor leagues or not, this is a goddamn mess. You see the names that disappear for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. They're not even touring. So it's not like people are burned out. So this is why NXT is getting 700,000 unopposed, because it is a mess. They want to keep insisting putting Everrise on TV, even if it's for a minute or two. This Cameron Grimes stuff, I know some of you find it, humorous. Ted DiBiase, it's only 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Every single Cameron Grimes video segment, other than being in the ring, every segment, from dribbling the basketball to the club to trying to buy a house, trying to buy a watch, every segment he has been in that quarter hour, the ratings went down. They insist on having the grizzled young veterans with the grizzled teeth coming out over and over and over again. And they're just eating up time. There's some people, they need to cut this roster even further. I don't like seeing anybody out of work, but 700,000 doesn't surprise me at all. I honestly thought it would go up because the week before, I thought they did a damn good job, and they did a better job hyping stuff up. But, I got to give a lot of credit to Mish on this one, because Mish said it. And I talked about it also after him. But when you had both shows on the same night, NXT going to Tuesday night hurt NXT for the simple reason that you had AEW on at the same time. So you had 800,000 fans that were tuning into AEW. So when you get Rebel, not Reba, I mean, what the hell is that? Rebel, not Reba. All right, we get it on social media because everybody calls you Reba like I do, but they actually have it written Rebel, not Reba. How's about instead of Rebel and then in parentheses, not Reba, how's about worse and then put in parentheses, not bad? Because she's not bad, she's worse. It is awful. It's not even a gimmick. You just go in there and just hit me like you're, on your deathbed at 95 years old. Awful, awful. NXT is on. I don't care what's on NXT. I'm watching that instead. You could channel surf. You could go back and forth. You would see sometimes dips in the AEW rating and NXT's quarter hour going up. So now on Tuesday night, you have most of the AEW fans not interested in that shit. So they're not watching wrestling on Tuesday. They found other things to do. And don't give me this DVR stuff. Oh, well, everybody DVRs now. Bottom line is, when you're on a major network, primetime TV, and you negotiate advertising or you negotiate a deal with a network and they give you a bunch of money, a lot of it is based on advertising revenue. And if people are DVRing your product instead of watching it live, they are choosing to do something else or watch something else instead of you first run. And when you go into negotiations, you can't say, but we get 500,000 DVRs. Then the advertiser, okay, so we'll give you commercials based on if you aired at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm drinking regular water today, no sparkling water. It's just in an ARC bottle. I didn't have time to make carbonated water today. So anyway, that's my little rant about NXT and the rating. As far as the matches from yesterday, because, look, we're 24 hours removed and there's really no reason for me to get into all the matches from yesterday. But just looking back on it, a couple of things I just want to say right off the bat. First of all, Toni Storm and Zoey Stark, I love that match. We talked about it last week. Toni Storm was 0-7. So you knew that losing streak was coming to an end. Everybody and their mother knew that Toni Storm was winning yesterday. That finisher, it was like a modified brainbuster. I don't know if it was botched or not, but if that shit was not botched, she better trademark that. Because when that happened, Mish and I did a Patreon show yesterday, and we didn't talk to each other during NXT. And when we both started on Patreon, we talked about this match almost in stereo. We both were like, I don't even know what to call that finisher. What was that? And we were like impressed by it. So I really enjoyed that match. The Cameron Grimes, Ted DiBiase stuff, there's a little nostalgia involved with it, but it doesn't feel like Cameron Grimes' character has progressed at all. And you could see this a million miles away. Cameron Grimes is going to lose it all. When you hear these news about the value of a lot of this crypto going down, it's got to reflect the storyline sooner or later. I thought that Ted DiBiase should have Cameron Grimes invest in Ted DiBiase stuff, and then Ted DiBiase ends up taking everything from him, and Cameron Grimes is broke. But this storyline, people want to see the guy in the ring. These segments, the only other thing that I really enjoyed yesterday, other than the tag match, because let me tell you something. I know a lot of people like to make fun of Tomasso Ciampa looking old, but yesterday he looked like he was having a good time. Tomasso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, they work so well together. Especially Ciampa. I'm watching him closely yesterday, not in a sexual way. I'm watching him closely, and I'm like, this guy looks like he's having a good time. He's not just going through the motions. You see the work he was doing. He looked like he was having a ball yesterday, and it reflected it on TV. But in the end, you get to have the rematch with Legado del Fantasma and MSK. Okay, whatever. I like the Hit Row stuff. It reminds me of like a little bit of late 80s, early 90s, not necessarily gangster rap because it WWE's not going to go that route. But I kind of like what they're doing with that Top Dollar guy. I never researched a lot of his career outside of wrestling, but he impresses me. And once again, WWE with this influx of big men. It is insane. It is insane. I've been a wrestling fan since 79, and I grew up with the King Kong Bundys and Big John Studd, Andre the Giant, One Man Gang, and on, Bam Bam, and Yokozuna. But I've never seen at any point in WWE's history have this many big men on their roster. If you actually just take a step back and list it, it'll blow you away. It's crazy how much they have accumulated in the big department. Bronson Reed, like I said, he won the cage match yesterday. A lot of people felt that Bronson Reed should have won a takeover. All right, yeah. I mean, this storyline with the Way is obviously going to go in a different direction now. I'm happy for Bronson Reed. We'll see where he goes from here as the North American champion. Sarray versus Aliyah did nothing for me yesterday. I know Aliyah is trying, but, this Robert Stone brand is just an absolute failure. I could not get into it at all. And, Killian Dain beating Alexander Wolfe. And, to see what went down today, with the releases, Alexander Wolfe gets destroyed by Imperium. And it's interesting because it felt like there was a storyline twist coming for Imperium. The storyline we thought was that Killian Dain may join Imperium. You remember the tag match. But after Alexander Wolfe lost yesterday, he gets jumped by Imperium, and he's out of Imperium. Today, he's out of a WWE job. Now, his contract ends the middle of June, so he's not on a 90-day no-compete. So he will remain paid from the WWE from now until the middle of June, about a month, and then he's a free agent to do whatever he wants. And I will tell you, of all the releases, and I'll get into the list now, of all the releases, Killian Dain by far was the most surprising and shocking. And take note of the number of people within WWE that are going out of their way today to thank Alexander Wolfe, and giving him a lot of love on the way out. Some really, really wonderful comments from a lot of stars in NXT going his way. Alexander Wolfe was very, very liked in that company. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Billy Kay situation. Obviously, two totally different talents, and we utilize two totally different ways. But, I think it surprised a lot of people that, he was let go. The other people who were let go was referee Drake Wirtz, referee Jake Clemens, which surprised a lot of people as well. Most of you will remember Jake Clemens as the referee that had the Seth Rollins shirt underneath the ref shirt. That was him. He was actually pretty good as well. A little surprised at that. Kavita Devi, she was the wrestler, I think, from India, that very, very tall. And we saw her wrestle in the WrestleMania Battle Royal. And, we've talked about her before. I mean, she was really trying hard, but it just wasn't coming together. So she was let go. Jessamine Duke, I don't know if that's going to surprise a lot of people, because I could tell you from a lot of your feedback, and when I look like this is where the chat room is for tonight, so when I look this way. But a lot of your feedback over the last year or two, whenever the topic of Jessamine Duke was brought up, a lot of people just felt like, just didn't seem like she fit in. I mean, the Four Horsewomen thing, we all fantasized at some point, the Four Horsewomen versus the Four Horsewomen, but that obviously was not going to come together. But, she's gone as well. Vanessa Bourne also surprises a lot of people. And I will tell you, from someone I talked to earlier today that actually wrestles in NXT, it's interesting the way he put it to me. He said that people were feeling about this today. They compared it to, oh my God, Deonna Purrazzo. That WWE saw star power in Deonna Purrazzo, but there was so many people higher on the food chain that there was just no way that they were going to be able to put Deonna Purrazzo in a position where she could really peak and excel. It wasn't going to happen on SmackDown, obviously. It wasn't going to happen on Raw. And NXT, they were really focused on a certain group of women. Deonna Purrazzo was let go, very surprisingly. She had a big chip on her shoulder, and she has done phenomenal in Impact Wrestling. Now, I'm not saying that Vanessa Bourne is on that level, but a lot of people look at it the same way, that Vanessa Bourne is extremely talented, and she's got a whole career ahead of her. And the perception with a lot of people is that she would have been wasted. She would have been wasted. So she's gone. Brandy Lauren, I'm very surprised. You remember we talked about her in detail. Just go on my channel and just type in her name and you'll get the episode and even the timestamp. I don't know what went wrong with her. I honestly don't know. I'm going to try to find out some more information because that was very surprising because she was still new. So it wasn't that she's been there for a long time and it just wasn't being put together. So I have a feeling there's some more behind this. I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but there might be something else going on which resulted in her release. I will see what I can find out. Again, I don't want to be first. I want to be right. If I don't get info, I'll just tell you straight up, I couldn't get any info. And then you have EJ Nduka, which is Ezra Judge. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I don't know what the deal is with him. There's some rumors, take it as rumors, there's some rumors that he had a backstage altercation with Drake Wuertz. I have no idea if it had to do with the mask shit that Drake Wuertz was, ranting about and everything like that. I don't know if that's the cause. I do know that a lot of people within NXT really like the guy as well. And the guy really, there was no complaints about him. But this one altercation keeps coming up, so I have no idea. I will try to get that answer for you. So, I may wear the shirt Friday, and I may do the dance Friday, the Sami Zayn and the Matt Riddle on Friday. It's got to be the right time. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. You know what? Since tomorrow is very lighthearted, we'll do it tomorrow. So, yeah, if everybody wants to see me do the Sami Zayn dance, and the Riddle, do it tomorrow. So that is your list. There's a few other names. One or two might surprise some people. But, again, I will not be that one to throw names out there. And if it ends up being wrong, man, that would be so disrespectful on my part. So I don't care if I'm the 100th person telling you. I just rather be accurate. So that is your list of releases. By the way, Frankie Kazarian today cut a promo during Dynamite that he's hunting every member of the Elite. Him and Christopher Daniels are split. Now, I wish they would have had a one-on-one. If Christopher Daniels is going to retire, maybe Daniels just feels that he cannot put out a really top-of-the-line match. Or maybe he just doesn't want to have that officially retired stamp on his head. Maybe down the line he comes back for a match, a tribute or something, this and that. But, a lot of people may not know. Frankie Kazarian's dad passed away the last couple of days. Might have even been yesterday or the day before. So, not only did they split up as a tag team, but he lost his dad. So some of you out there, if you're friends or if you follow him on social media, maybe you send some kind words to him, some condolences to him and his family. So, with that said, we've talked about AEW going to TBS. We talked about them having the 4 specials on TNT. They will be quarterly specials. But I heard that might actually be upped to 6, which I think makes sense. AEW is going to have more pay-per-views once we come back to consistent touring. So you might see those specials upped to every other month, which would be the way to go. And look, once they're off TNT doesn't mean they can never go back. But as far as a weekly basis goes, the TBS thing is a done deal. Turner networks need AEW more for TBS than TNT. And they don't want to keep preempting AEW as well. Wrestling fans will follow AEW whether they're on TNT or TBS. I mean, they were preempted a couple of times last year. And I remember that one, I think it was it the Young Bucks versus Private Party? Oh, no, it might have been FTR versus Private Party. And they did that quarter hour was 1 million viewers. And that was totally preempted. So, we'll see what happens. Reginald, we will talk about tomorrow, Friday. We don't talk about Raw or SmackDown on Wednesdays, but I do have some interesting news that WWE is trademarking Reginald's name. So it looks like Reginald will be around for a little while. So, but we'll talk about that tomorrow, Friday. Couple of super chats, if you don't mind. Did I say Killian Dain at the very beginning of the show about the releases? Yeah, my apology, Crazy Cruiserweight. I corrected that immediately after. It obviously Alexander Wolfe. Killian Dain is still with Drake Maverick. I don't know what they're going to do about that tag team. Doesn't feel like it's going much of anywhere. But, thank you. I actually did, correct myself. He's also not surprised about Jessamine Duke being cut, not counting Raw Underground. Last TV match was October 23rd, losing in the tag match. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you would think with this Diamond Mine stuff that they're hyping up, you would think that there is a place for Jessamine Duke. Now I'm just thinking to myself, who the hell is going to be in this? I don't know if Arturo Ruas is ready to come back. He was drafted to Raw, and then the injury happened, so we never saw him. I really don't know what to make with this Diamond Mine stuff right now. But you would think that she would have been a perfect fit for that. Don't know. We'll see what happens. Rojo Bear says that AEW should add a Cruiserweight Championship. I don't like the never open weight title. That it's pretty much could be anybody, because to me, like an IC championship, a U.S. title, it's not intended for any particular weight group. You do Cruiserweight, that's about 75% of AEW's roster. You do a Cruiserweight title, you have a secondary belt, and you have someone right below, whether it's a Lance Archer or someone else that is just, they're trying to get him a title somewhere, but they won't give the heavyweight, and they're not going to do a tag title because he's not tagging with Jake the Snake Roberts. So I don't like the Cruiserweight title idea for AEW. I don't like that at all, because right now, I think if Darby Allin won the AEW heavyweight title later this year or next year, I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. If Sammy Guevara won the AEW heavyweight title, obviously the storyline would have to fit perfect, but I think fans would get behind it completely. Cruiserweight title, it feels like you're really limiting a big part of your roster. So I think just a secondary championship would be ideal. And you don't have to overthink it. If they use a tradition, a name that's been used in the past, as long as WWE doesn't own trademarks, I could see it. I appreciate Keith Doherty's comment just now. No joke. Yes, Lance Archer remains my favorite star in AEW. But after tonight, even though I know it's going to end with bullshit, because ain't no way Miro is losing that title this quickly, but I am looking forward to Miro versus Lance Archer more than any other match for Double or Nothing. Even Sting. And I thought it was cute at the very end today that they made sure to tell us it's not going to be a cinematic match, everyone. Sting will wrestle live in the ring. That'll be a lot of gaga as well. But Sting, I don't think he's embarrassed himself. I don't think anybody should complain at all. We'll see what he does at Double or Nothing. But right now, I am so looking forward to Lance Archer versus Miro. Little pissed off it's happening this soon, because when Darby Allin was the champion, you felt the storyline. It felt like Lance Archer was building up this thing where he was going to turn on Sting and turn on Darby Allin. He kept coming out to their aid and this, and that. And then you expected him to turn on those guys, and then he would take on Darby Allin for that championship. Somebody made a major shift in that storyline. So, to me, this is happening way too soon, but I am really looking forward to it. Look, the match is probably going to end in a clusterfuck, so they could always have a rematch down the line. But that match I'm looking forward to more than anything else right now. Near is asking me who should get a title shot against Cross after Finn Balor. Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne. I know a lot of people disagree with me when I say Pete Dunne is a beast. Pete Dunne's a beast. You don't have to be 6'5" and over 300 pounds to be a beast. You know, I would be scared shit if I looked Pete Dunne the wrong way in a bar, because Pete Dunne would probably twist me into a pretzel. I would look like this. I'd be all disheveled. I look like, Peter Griffin when they show like him getting injured in Family Guy and he's like this. Pete Dunne. I absolutely would love to see that. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about AEW. How long are we going? 56 minutes already? All right. I definitely want to wrap this up a little bit quicker tonight. We got a show tomorrow. We got a show Friday. I might actually be doing a show Saturday, an impromptu. Not guaranteed yet. Got to see how the schedule is on Saturday. I have to go out for the day on Sunday because my niece is graduating. And now with masks, the mandate changing over here, it's going to be a little interesting to see what goes on. By the way, I did write down the Acclaim's rap word for word tonight. I'm not going to put a beat in the background because I totally failed the last time I did that. But I will read it to you. I will read it like a generic white boy that doesn't know how to rap. But, they had the match with Moxley and Eddie Kingston. I tell you, tonight's episode of AEW was fun, but it felt like it was lacking in a lot of ways. It really felt like it was lacking. I will tell you, and I'm going to go a little bit out of place. It's no reason that we have to do every segment, every moment, but I will tell you this right now. Anthony Ogogo tonight took on Austin Gunn. And they did the blood capsule thing. Okay. Whatever. I'm not going to complain about that. It looked fine on TV. His punches, I could understand the kidney punch. I could understand even back in the day, Ox Baker and the heart punch, or anyone else that used to do that. Because if you hit somebody in the perfect spot, I don't want to say you could kill him, but you could do some major, major damage. But, when he's going like this and then you see like internal bleeding, that's what they were playing today. I would have rather seen Anthony Ogogo. I would have rather seen it in reverse. I would have rather see him lift up Austin Gunn like he did, wail him in the face, wail him in the mouth, then break the capsule, then have his mouth bleeding from the punch to the face, then you nail him in the stomach, and then you could have Excalibur say, is he bleeding from the shot to the face or to his stomach? The referee's got to end this. But they did it in reverse. And the shot to the stomach, where now we're supposed to believe like he's bleeding internally, it's not that impressive on TV. And I think they are really missing the boat. I'm sorry for repeating myself. But if it happens, at least we can enjoy that we talked about it for 2 weeks when no one else did. Maybe this week people start picking up on it. But I said 2 weeks ago, Anthony Ogogo versus Cody Rhodes should either be one of two things. It should either be a flag match or the winner of the match gets their national anthem played. That's what needs to be done, especially after Cody last week doing his speech, very passionate about America and everything like that. And Anthony Ogogo is here trying to live the American dream, not the England dream. That's what it should be. It's not rocket science. They have Anthony Ogogo coming out there with the flag. Cody comes out there with the flag. It's right in front of you. It's right in front of you. It's like going to a party and you're there with your friend and your friend turns around, and a girl or a guy, whatever floats your boat, turns around and smiles at your friend. And you're just looking at it like, oh, that's cool. And your friend's like, you think he likes me? You think she likes me? And I'm like, wait a minute. She's looking at you. She's smiling at you. Go over there, talk. It's like it's right in front of your face. Go over there, get laid. The flags are right there. Make it a flag match. Or make it a flag match and play the anthem. If they're going to make Ogogo go out on top in this match, my God, let them drape the flag over Cody and then play the freaking theme and have his flag come down. Instant heat, nuclear heat. It'll cover up the fact that I'm not impressed with some of these moves. That's just me talking in my creative mind. I don't know why they're not doing that, but Gogo gets the win today. It was nice. I took a screenshot, everyone. It was nice to see a little cameo by Dean Malenko today. Chris Jericho getting interviewed in the back by Alex Marvez, and Dean Malenko making a little appearance. I used to love watching Dean Malenko, man. And you know what? Since I've been doing this since 97, I got hotlines as early as 2000 singing the praise for Dean Malenko. I enjoyed Dean Malenko back in the day. You know, they tried to make him the ladies' man and everything like that. It just didn't feel right. But Dean Malenko is an OG. So it was nice to see him make that little spot. By the way, I like that they put Julie Hart with Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison. I mean, honestly, you know, them announcing them as number one contenders, all right, that's kind of a little bit of a stretch for yours truly. But I tell you, I really like them as a tag team. I know Brian Pillman's name being, you know, mentioned quite often lately because of the dark side of the ring. They mentioned it or trying to tease it tonight. I don't think it's necessary. Honestly, I don't think it's necessary for Brian Pillman Jr. to be cutting promos, you know, talking about that, you know, his dad was the reason why he didn't get into wrestling. You know, you just had a dark side of the ring where everybody is just loving the story, the backstory of Brian Pillman Jr. making it. And his aunt, you know, build on that. I don't think anybody wants to hear Brian Pillman Jr. say, you know, I don't think it's the opposite. I don't think that was necessary. But, you know, Griff Garrison, you know who he reminds me of? I mean, yes, some people might say it reminds him of like a jacked up Shannon Moore with longer hair. But I tell you who he reminds me of. And when I see certain moves and mannerisms in the ring, I wonder if anybody out there reminds, chat room, does he remind you of everyone? I know someone may say an early Jericho. I could see that in the facial a little bit in the face, but his arsenal's nowhere like Jericho at all. You know what Griff Garrison reminds me of? Seriously. Reminds me of this guy. Lenny Lane. Lenny Lane, a lot of people back then thought Lenny Lane was like a Chris Jericho, like a low-budget Chris Jericho, because he kind of dressed like him, he looked like him, he had the mannerisms, and then they did, you know, the Lenny and Lodi character, the gimmick, and then playing, you know, kind of a gay character. And I'm not going to get into all that controversy as far as the Cruiserweight title that he won and then had to drop it because the network didn't like the character. But he reminds me of Lenny Lane. He reminds me of Lenny Lane. Lenny Lane Psycho was a little bit better than a jobber back in the day. He was not bad. Problem is, he really didn't have much of a unique look. But he reminds me of Lenny Lane. A lot of work. If you go watch some Lenny Lane and Lenny Lane being able to work a match, you'll see what I'm talking about. So, but we had the Inner Circle cut a promo today. Santana was not there. MJF and the Pinnacle out to dinner early. I got a kick out of Wardlow drinking the red wine out of the bottle, not out of the glass. But MJF, basically him, Dax cutting a promo that they should be chasing every title in AEW, but they can't because they're busy dealing with the Inner Circle. And, putting down Jericho about being like an embarrassment to wrestling for the last 30 years. And, the stipulation that if the Inner Circle loses, they must split up, I hate it. I hate it. Unless they're really splitting up, I hate it. Because it's one of those stipulations that you just feel suspension of disbelief, it ain't happening. The worst one yet in AEW, and I brought it up before, is when Matt Hardy took on Sammy Guevara. And if Matt Hardy loses, he has to leave AEW. You knew he was not leaving that early. And then he had the unfortunate fall. And no one is going to tell me otherwise. Nobody came up with plan B if Matt Hardy would have got injured in that match with that stipulation. And I'm telling you, just an opinion, that they continued that match because they didn't know how the fuck to get out of that if Guevara would have been declared the winner. That's how I always felt. Stadium Stampede was awesome. That's the selling point. You don't need anything else. You don't need, if the Inner Circle lose, they must be executed. If the Pinnacle loses, they must strip down naked in the ring. They must disband. They must get why do such an ultimatum storyline? I mean, they teased last year so much awful shit with the Inner Circle. We're better than ever. 2 weeks later, we might break apart. A week later, we're stronger than ever. 2 weeks later, we're in Vegas. A week later, we're splitting up. And that's what made the Inner Circle all screwed up last week. Stop with these ultimatum with the storylines. It's stupid. It's stupid. It was totally unnecessary. So, but they are going with that. But I did like Jericho's comment earlier. Jericho said that we're going to dance all over your face and piss on your grave. I think that is from a song. But, Jericho cutting the passionate promo that 2 weeks ago, he dislocated his elbow, which is true. He put his family through this. Was it worth getting his family all upset? Was it worth this? Was it worth 1,000%? And the Inner Circle, Santana will return next week. But I'm looking forward to that match also. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you heard that they already started filming some segments for it. So, because that's going to be, cinematic. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be phenomenal. I want to see what they do with Tully Blanchard. It's not going to be the highlight of it, but Tully Blanchard's got to do some crazy shit in this. So, Jade Cargill, someone asked me earlier, do they have nothing for her right now? I mean, it's not like Macho Man in 1984. Was it 84 or 85? When Macho Man came into the WWF and all the managers were gloating over him, and then they had all the managers enter the ring, and we were going to find out who Macho Man's manager was going to be, and then they brought out Miss Elizabeth. AEW doesn't have a plethora of managers where they're all gushing. It almost feels creepy with this Mark Sterling, showing the interest over and over again. This feels worse than the Robert Stone brand stuff. It just feels like, and look, Jade Cargill issues an open challenge for next week. I mean, really, who do you think is going to accept that challenge? You think we're going to get one of the top stars? You think you can get like Thunder Rosa or someone like that? We're probably going to get somebody that's on AEW Dark to step up for the challenge. And it's going to amount to nothing. I'm telling you, next week's AEW, not that it's Friday night, I don't know how I feel about it. It's the go-home show. It's the go-home show. And right now, I'm just feeling like it's really missing a couple of things. Serena Deeb retaining the NWA Women's title, beating Red Velvet today. This was a good match. Red Velvet is really coming into her own. I don't think people understand the amount of pressure that was put on her when she teamed up with Cody to go up against Jade Cargill and Shaq. You know, it wasn't just casual fans or non-wrestling fans tuning in, but that was a very high-profile spot for her to be in, and she did a decent job. And, you know, all the buzz that you hear behind the scenes is that she just works her ass off. You know, somebody called her a Spitfire, just works her ass off trying to put it all together. And she's still got some work to do. I mean, if you really want to nitpick a little bit, when Serena Deeb was kicking her in the corner, you know, Serena's got to connect, and then you go in. And before Serena could connect, you see Red Velvet going like this. But she's this close with the timing. So they had a great match today. I really could not have any problems with it. Serena Deeb winning with the Serenity Lock, but Red Velvet loses nothing today. She went toe-to-toe with a top women's wrestler, and Serena Deeb is a coach. So they should be very proud of that match that went down tonight. Austin says I looked like I was dancing. Yeah. Don Callis, Kenny Omega, funny segment. I should have brought in regular-sized paper to maximize the effect. This is financial statements for my stock, so I can't use that. But basically what happened was last week after the match was over, Orange Cassidy had an ice pack on. He's backstage. The Young Bucks make a little cameo, but Don Callis sits next to Orange Cassidy. Kenny Omega's there. And Don Callis trying to get Orange Cassidy to sign an agreement, take himself out of the match because of his injury last week, and that he guarantees he'll get a shot down the line. He gives the contract to Orange Cassidy, and Orange Cassidy is only he could do. He does this. Now, imagine how annoying it would be if I had a regular sheet of paper. And it was hilarious because Don Callis is like, I have another one. He takes out another one. He puts it next to his leg. The ice pack falls off. And next week, Orange Cassidy makes his decision. Let me interpret this. Orange Cassidy got knocked for a loop last week. They want to make sure that he can medically be cleared, not just cleared, but can be close to 100% for Double or Nothing. So they turned this into a storyline. So by next Friday, which is only 48 hours before the pay-per-view, they will know if Orange Cassidy could go. Seems like he'll be okay. So this coming Friday, next Friday, Orange Cassidy will probably tear it up again. We'll probably see Kenny Omega attack him a little bit. Pac will get involved, and that's where we'll go into Sunday. But keeping that the way it is right now is the right way to go, just to be sure that Orange Cassidy is okay. I agree, Near. They're not doing a great job with Abaddon. I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. I mean, you know, she's obviously a lot of gimmick, but that's what you do. You don't want a monster to have like a 5-star match or even a 4-star match. I think just AEW is hell-bent on Hikaru Shida and Britt Baker. And I'm not talking about just Double or Nothing. I'm talking about for the last bunch of months. Focus. Those two women. Thunder Rosa as well, because Thunder Rosa on your TV show is a huge asset. But I just don't feel like they had really any interest on getting Abaddon to the next level. Whether she beats Ryo Mizunami or someone else doesn't matter to me. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, okay. The Acclaimed versus Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. And again, I'm not going to put the beat in the background and I'm not going to rap it. But for those that wanted to know what the rap was tonight, and it was pretty funny because I think a lot of people still don't know that Renee Paquette's podcast is called Oral Sessions. I know that could be, misconstrued with something else, but they came out and basically said Acclaimed is the paradigm shift. These two guys exchange Valentine gifts. Yo, Eddie, why you dress like it's '04? You look like a box of Newports. And Mox, you're out of your element. I'ma knock you out with this mic like Omega did. Call your girl. She's all in my mentions, trying to hit me up for some oral sessions. See, I have no beat, and it actually is a little bit of a cadence to it. All right, maybe I should have had the beat. Acclaimed is the paradigm shift. These two guys exchange Valentine's gifts. Yo, Eddie, why you dress like it's '04? You look like a box of Newports. And Mox, you're out of your element. I'ma knock you out with this mic like Omega did. Call your girl. She's all in my mentions, trying to hit me up for some oral sessions. Oh, I added the O. So there you go. Very creative. And I think Anthony Bowens had to clarify at the end, her podcast, we don't want standards and practices getting a little bit triggered with the oral sessions remark. That's the name of the podcast. So Mox, Eddie Kingston, like I said, they came out to Wild Thing, performed by X. That is the version from 1984 for anybody that wants to go check it out. Very talented group. I'm telling you, if you were into like 80s rock, but more just not like hard band. It's funny because I've talked about this before. When I went to high school in the 80s, there was this girl that I had a crush on, and I actually have a couple of pictures from my Italy trip I'm going to post next week. If people want to see some personal pics. And you'll see me hanging out with her on the Italy trip. And she was a tremendous fan of Siouxsie and the Banshees. Is that the name of the group? And I remember being on the plane, and she had the Walkman. And I'm like, what do you listen to? And she's like, oh, Siouxsie and the Banshees. I'm like, oh, my God, I love them. And she's like, you really? I'm like, yeah, can I listen for a little bit? I put her headphones on. I had no idea what I was listening to. But then, because you want to try to get some, I tried to get a little learning of Siouxsie and the Banshees. Unfortunately, there was no internet at the time, and I don't think the encyclopedia. So I really was shit out of luck. So there was no magazines that I could have picked up on Switzerland on the way to Italy that I could have learned about it. But I tried. But this group X came out right around that same time frame. They actually debuted, I think, in the late 70s. The lead singer now has got to be in her mid-60s. So I don't know if you'll ever see a live performance by X for Moxley, but I love this version 1,000 times more than the 60s version that we hear in every grocery store, every dentist office, every doctor's office, everywhere. You walk in and they play that soft music. Some point that freaking song comes on with that dumb flute. Boop, 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 boop. Fuck you. Give me X's version anytime. So anyway, they kicked the shit out of the Acclaimed, used the boombox towards the end. And at the very end of tonight, we got the announcement that the Young Bucks will be defending the AEW tag team titles against Moxley and Kingston at the pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. I mean, Moxley hitting Max Caster with the boombox, paradigm shift, 1, 2, 3. Moxley and Kingston, I tell you, I really would love to see Moxley and Kingston as AEW tag champs. I just don't know if you take the tag titles off the Young Bucks this soon. I mean, the Young Bucks are triggering people online. I mean, I understand, them wearing the $10,000 sneakers and everything like that. Because, look, they're obviously some of the biggest stars in wrestling, but they don't have tens of millions in the bank. And, wearing $10,000 shoes for a match or two just to get you more over as like cocky prima donna heels. I mean, but you got to see on social media, grown-ass adults getting triggered over this. I mean, just really triggered. And I'm like, these guys are doing their job phenomenal. I mean, they came out tonight and wearing this, and everybody's like, what the f does he have on his head? What is that on his head? And I'm like, you know, it's nothing. I mean, it's supposed to piss you off, and you got to see how people get triggered online over this stuff. They are doing a beautiful job at being those heels that get under your skin. Not go away heat. You want to see them get their ass kicked. They are at the top of their game as far as AEW goes. I mean, look, what they did in Japan and elsewhere was phenomenal as well. But as far as AEW goes, this is their peak right now. And it kind of sucks that Moxley and Kingston are putting it together so closely to this, because you say to yourself, man, I mean, Jesus, if you really want to get creative, since Impact Wrestling insists on doing the AEW rub, which I think honestly has been a mistake, we still don't know what the rating was last week, because everybody revealed their hand that they only go on Showbuzz Daily's website, and I already talked twice as far as what happened to their website. Totally unnecessary what happened to their website. That's what happens when you try to do things on the cheap. But we don't even know what Impact's Wrestling was last week. But if you, their rating, but if you really wanted to, you wanted to really blow this wide open with this feud or AEW invading, you could have Moxley and Kingston show up in Impact Wrestling, win those tag titles, and then go up against like Sami Callihan or someone else and just totally tear up everything. And then they could have got, I'm telling you, that would have been, you could have Moxley and Kingston coming out with the Impact titles just to give the aura that they had championships. Kenny Omega has done nothing for the ratings for Impact Wrestling. But I truthfully believe, put Moxley and Kingston on Impact Wrestling and they would have done, I think, so, I could almost guarantee you that a lot of you here, if I told you that Moxley and Kingston were going to be on Impact this Thursday, that we probably would tune in to see what the hell they do. So, but I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's happening. Yeah, Benjamin, I can't believe Showbuzz made such an amateur mistake also. For those that don't know, and a lot of people won't tell you this, you know, and it's not their fault because they don't, you know, most people out there, they have other people doing stuff for them. But WordPress, they use WordPress for their website. I use WordPress as well. One of the earliest things they tell you when you use WordPress is always keep backups of your website. Always keep backups of your website. You're always updating plugins. You have WordPress updates from time to time, especially when you're dealing with databases. And what happened? We had last week a big WordPress update. We had a couple of plugins that were updated, and they never did backups of their site. And as a result, their site crashed, and they pretty much lost their whole configuration. They have their data. They have their screenshots, their GIF files, their media files, but as far as their databases and everything, they did not keep proper updates. And honestly, that's because they were being cheap to save money. I pay, you know, money every week for my hosting company to do daily tapes. Now, if my site went down tomorrow and never came back, everybody could still access my shows. There's other ways of getting it. But when it comes to Showbuzz Daily, you know, I mean, they couldn't even get the ratings and post them in tweets. They could have posted the screenshot for all of the TV shows ratings for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They could have just posted on Twitter. They screwed themselves so bad. And, you know, they'll learn their lesson. And trust me, I made that mistake in the past as well. And I learned my lesson a long time ago. So, Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky, they call out Sting and Darby Allin. And Sting comes out, they're taunting Sting. He's not what he used to be. As they're focused on Sting, Darby Allin shows up with the skateboard, beats them up, Sting gets involved as well. Sting puts the Scorpion Deathlock on Scorpio Sky. Darby Allin holds Ethan Page with a skateboard. Look great. Look great. I mean, it's going to be a tag match. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page are experienced. I wouldn't go the veteran route. Scorpio Sky maybe a little bit, but these guys will take very good care of Sting. They will make Sting look like $1 million. I don't expect it to be the match of the night, but you're not going to have, it's not going to look like, Darby Allin is teaming up with a celebrity that just comes in for a move or two and that's it. Sting is going to show that he can still go. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll tell you the one thing I did not like today. Christian Cage took on Evan Bourne. I always forget, his original wrestling name, Matt Sydal. The match was okay. You have Taz on commentary, and Christian gets the win. And as soon as Christian gets a win, Taz is on the mic, bad-mouthing him, and here comes Ricky Starks. And it was cool to see Ricky Starks, because Ricky Starks, we know, has the fracture in his neck. He's going to be out for many months. And he's still going to be a character on TV. Obviously, he can't get physical, but he's distracting Christian. Christian's looking at him. Matt Sydal's looking at him. And honestly, I have nothing against Taz's son becoming a wrestler. And I understand they have him dress to look like a kid. That's intentional. But to me, when I see him, I don't think he's from Red Hook, New York. I say he's from Green Hook, New York, because he's still green as grass. And when he did that chop shot, that low shot to Matt Sydal's leg, Matt turned around and it looked like Hook froze for a second and then tried to execute a suplex. It just looked so indie. And again, they have him dress this way on purpose. Definitely they're doing the right thing with that. But if you look at it closely, it's not smooth. It's not believable. And I get it. He'll learn as time goes by. He should not be the first person to get the shot. Someone else more experienced should be getting the shot. And then if he wants to cheap shot, then you could have the commentator say, look at Hook. Look at him sneak in. And, that's what his role should be right now. To basically just like what a manager would do. What maybe Bobby Heenan would do, or Paul Heyman, or someone else younger years. Like when the ref is not looking, the manager nails a cheap shot. One shot. That's what Hook should be doing, not initiate the beatdown. So, yeah, I think he's from Green Hook, New York. I've been to Red Hook. That area, I always remember this gigantic wall behind the ocean. I remember driving up to this giant wall, and I was like, wow, that looks pretty damn cool. I can't explain it. So anybody that's been to Red Hook knows what I'm talking about. But I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Hangman Page comes out, and it was funny. He had like a little cocktail, and he gives it to Ricky Starks. He's like, hold my drink. Hangman Page hits the ring. Even that looked a little bit sloppy. Like Brian Cage, like there was at the beginning just seemed like they were a little bit off with the timing. Hangman Page, trying to beat up Brian Cage and Hobbs at the same time, and it just looked like a mess. There was one point where Hangman Page, I think, wanted to hit the clothesline to Hobbs, and Hobbs just fell down, and he just turns around, and he's like, what am I supposed to do now? But this is to set up their match for Double or Nothing. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why this FTW title is not on the line. I mean, why show off that FTW title even in the graphics if it's not on the line? And if Hangman Page wins, then you say to yourself, okay, well, now I know why it's not on the line. But you have a rematch now. This title's never defended. I mean, that might be their gimmick going forward, that the title's never defended. You know, it's just the title. I don't want to say it's like the $1 Million Man's title, but, you know, they have to have a little bit more clarity with that. Thank you, Austin, for the kind words. Thank you for always giving me the shout-outs. I take notice, and you'll never get through to those guys. I am evil. I am the bad guy. You know, remember what I said. They don't get mad at the message. They get mad at the messenger. You know, it's all good, man. It's all good. So that pretty much was Dynamite today. The card for Double or Nothing as of right now is Kenny Omega defending the AEW World title against Orange Cassidy and Pac. You know, Pac doing the locker room segment. He was interviewed, I think, from Alex Marvez. And he's like, I'm sick and tired of not getting opportunity. And I sound more Asian or Japanese than anything else. And I'm saying to myself, that doesn't make sense. He's got a world title shot. He got hit with the belt, and he still has a title shot. So I know what they were trying to do, but I would love to see Pac as heavyweight champion. But it just feels like they're going this route with Kenny Omega. And we talked about it last week. Kenny Omega's title run the last 6 months has been a joke. Hikaru Shida's title reign for the last 6 months has been a joke. Next week on Dynamite, they're going to celebrate Hikaru Shida's run because it's probably coming to an end. Now, Hikaru Shida's overall run, you know, is okay. COVID hit, so COVID definitely is part of, you know, the reason. But still, especially over the last 6 months, I mean, you have only 2 or 3 matches, and she's perfectly able to wrestle. I mean, even today with Serena Deeb, I think it was Jim Ross that said she's held the title for like 204 days or something like that, and she's defended it 4 times, I think. And I'm saying to myself, okay, let me do some arithmetic here. That means she defended it once every 40 or 50 days. That's not that impressive. For the Women's Championship, as I said, Hikaru Shida taking on Britt Baker. For the TNT Championship, Miro taking on Lance Archer. Please, no Kip Sabian. Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo. Please, AEW, add the stipulation. Flag match, national anthem, combination thereof. It's needed. It's needed. It's needed. Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. No title on the line. The Casino Battle Royale. And we know a few entries. Now, I know they posted a graphic earlier with the cards and some entries. I didn't save the picture, but we have another week. I'm going to do predictions next Friday, obviously. So I will have all the entries by next Friday, and then we'll do a prediction there, and I think Paul White is going to do guest commentary during that match. I tell you, I know Paul White hasn't done that much as far as on air goes, and it's mostly for their Monday show, but I'm happy with the way they're using him because people just blew that shit up early on, making it seem like this guy was going to be on TV, wrestling again all the time, and he's actually fitting pretty nice. And I'll say this again, some of these veteran wrestlers, they are a tremendous asset for these young stars, for these stars that are growing, you know, with AEW, you know, that are still very, very young to the business. You need these veteran people behind the scenes, not just for moves, you know, physical, but it's emotional, it's, you know, mindset, psychology. All these veteran stars, they don't just take their paycheck and go home. And that's a wonderful thing. I got a kick out of Miro running his mouth to Jake the Snake Roberts today. It ain't enough yoga in the world that'll save your ass if I put my hands on you. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying Miro and Lance Archer. Let this be a feud for a month or 2. Seriously, I'll be fine. I'll be fine with a double disqualification. I know it would kind of suck in the results column, but I'd be fine if these guys just would not stop beating the shit out of each other and they just call a bell. Just let it go for a month or two. Seriously, because Miro's not losing his belt anytime soon. And I don't want to see Lance Archer get pinned right now. I want to see these guys just tear the shit out of each other and just fuck the bell, fuck the referee, let them both hit the referee and get disqualified and just let this feud continue. That's what I would love to see. The Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle, Stadium Stampede 2. The AEW tag titles would be on the line. The Young Bucks versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And Sting and Darby Allin versus Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. So I tell you, this pay-per-view is really coming together as a winner. I mean, some of the matches, okay. But overall, I mean, this looks like a keeper. I'm really looking forward to this one. And I'll tell you, I'll leave you with this. I know there's a lot of people out there that really, like to poke fun at AEW just for tweet hand jobs and for status. But you watch that opening intro for AEW Dynamite tonight, which they tweaked again. They're always tweaking it. But if you look at that opening intro, you actually just take a look, watch it in half the speed, not twice as fast, but slower. And you actually look at the whole roster that they portray. It's, for AEW, it's pretty stacked. I mean, there's a nice blend of talent. Young stars of tomorrow, current stars, stars that are trying to make a comeback, some legendary faces, there's a nice mixture. I know I'm with all of you out there that we feel that AEW's women's division really needs more improvement, and I agree. I want to see what they do with this Friday show, because when you think about it, you have AEW Elevation on Mondays. You have AEW Dark on Tuesdays. You have AEW Dynamite on Wednesdays. And then you have AEW Rampage on Fridays. That is a lot of hours. So, and the Friday show is going to be on cable. It's not going to be on YouTube. So I got to see what they do with this Rampage show. If it ends up being like a Sunday Night Heat, or like I said, more, I hope, a Shotgun Saturday Night, I will enjoy it tremendously. I think there's no reason why you can't have secondary storylines air on Friday, and if the storyline really catches fire, then you bring it up on Dynamite. That's what I would do. Crazy Cruiserweight, just to wrap this show up for tonight, this Xia Li is reminding him of the whole Mustafa Ali from last year. I disagree, only because Mustafa Ali actually had some nice runs on TV, maybe not in the title department, but he had some decent momentum. I mean, there was a reason why he was going to be in that Elimination Chamber match that time. He got injured. So it's not like, that he was just bad gimmick, flailing, not really doing much of anything, and then they just repackaged him to the moon. Xia Li, they repackaged her with the Tian Sha stuff and doing those vignettes of almost like being tortured. And she came out there and everybody was buzzing about it. And on this show, you know me, I was freaking singing the praise of that like you wouldn't believe. And, she's got all of this momentum. And then TakeOver started to be built. And I think people forget she wasn't even on TakeOver. They didn't even have a match for her for TakeOver. By the way, shout out to our great channel members. On YouTube earlier, I posted the TNA for this week, the text and answer session. I'll be doing Q&A all week, and I'll be typing answers instead of doing video. Next week, we'll return video. We alternate every week, so shout out to all these fine people. But Xia Li, they didn't even have a storyline or a feud or anything to build her up for TakeOver. And TakeOver comes and goes, and you think, okay, the day after TakeOver, now you start putting her out there and really pushing her, and they do nothing. And again, this is 7 weeks. 7. There is no excuse for that whatsoever. None, in my honest opinion. So, Dream 101. I'm sorry, man. He was dating someone. They just had a breakup. He hoped the show would cheer him up. I don't know if this recap would have cheered you up, but I will promise you, if you tune in tomorrow, I promise you some laughs. I will be playing some of the clips from that episode, the New Jack appearance that I played last Friday and Monday. So many people laughed their ass off, and that was only, 5 minutes of it? That episode was like 2 hours. Obviously, I'm not streaming 2 hours of it. But I will take out some really good golden nuggets from that one. And I have tons of episodes like that. So we're gonna have some good laughs tomorrow. And what's great tomorrow is, wrestling is not the only thing on the menu. If you even want to talk about this, we could talk about it tomorrow. So much love to you, my friend. And believe me, I tell you, if it was not meant to be, then it's probably a good thing that this person is no longer in your picture. The last thing you want to do is get put in a situation where you're trapped and then you can't get out of it. Trust me, a lot of us have been there, and, you got to get out, And when you meet someone else, it'll probably happen when you least expect it. I'm not going to talk about it tonight. We've talked about it on the Thursday show, but most of you know how I met my fiance and how I met my ex-wife. I mean, that story in itself is like the wackiest thing you could ever hear. By accident. I talked to somebody on the phone and ended up marrying them. How stupid does that make me, looking back on it? So, but everybody in the chat room sends their thoughts with you. So, big shout out to La Nostra Familia, my great family. These are very special channel members here on YouTube. And I thank you all for your kind support. Robert Swanson, you're a maniac. I got your question earlier. I was reading it about history, and I'm like, this guy cannot be serious. And you're just nuts. That's all I'm going to say. Logan, again, I like the hit row concept. I like it. I think for 2 weeks, I think they've done a fine job with it. Ashante Adonis is one talented mofo, and it just felt that he was stuck. Like, it just felt like something just was not being put together. And you team him now with Isaiah Swerve Scott, especially, man, I could see, and you know what? I think I figured it out. I wouldn't be surprised if Swerve Scott and Adonis end up being the ones to beat MSK for the tag titles down the line. I could see Hit Row being tag team champions. I really could. We'll see what happens. So, everyone, before I jet out of here, I got to do one more shout out, if you don't mind. By the way, if I look white as a ghost, that is because this is a webcam that you see now. I actually have 2 cameras hooked up. I know there's some shows out there that have like 3 cameras. They have side views and a front. And I haven't gotten that technical yet, but I have 2 cameras right next to each other. And when I do this little box to shout out our great VIPers on Patreon, I put the webcam on. So the color is a little bit different, but I'm trying to play around a little bit. And this weekend, like I said, I'll probably be doing an impromptu show on Saturday. It depends if we get some more releases. I want to see what happens also Friday. I'll keep everybody up to date with that. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But one thing is for sure, I will be back here tomorrow for the mailbag. Ask me anything. We'll play some New Jack footage for some fun laughs. And, maybe we'll share a couple of additional stories that I had with him back in the day. And then Friday, the Don Toni show. I hope to have the Impact ratings for last week because I really want to know what they did last week. Those 2 weeks in a row, 130 and 132, that's garbage. especially when you're talking about Kenny Omega being their champion. That is absolute garbage. So, but anyway, everyone, I'm going to jet out of here. And I know I have used this video as an intro in the past, but I've had so many people say to me, DT, you need an outro. You need an outro. I'm going to make one up. We're going to have new intros coming in the next couple of months, little at a time. But I'm going to jet out of here with a little different twist tonight. Little video outro. I know a lot of people absolutely love this. It's my little tribute to my favorite movie of all time, my favorite pet of all time. And I bid you farewell for tonight, everyone. Be well. Much love as always. If you don't mind, before you get out of here, if you enjoyed the show, hit that like button. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. I thank you all for your support. And I hope if you're not doing nothing tomorrow night at 10:05 p.m., join me right back here tomorrow night for some very down-to-earth, very fun discussion. Wide array of topics. Not always wrestling. Be prepared. And we'll see what happens. So, everyone, much love. You know what's coming.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Toni. He's alright. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who claim they care the most for your life. And now it's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me.
I don't know what happened, everyone. I was tweaking settings earlier. I tried to use it as the end, but apparently the audio level is way too loud over here. I think I know why, but I can't mess with settings right now. So we'll have to scratch that exit for tonight. Hey, it's not professional, so it's all good. But yeah, I know I was muted for a second also, but I'll fix it tomorrow. You know, by the time we go to Showtime, we'll be fine. So, like I said, that's what happens when I start making adjustments for audio only. That's why it was insane back in the day to, you know, do video and then have people on that are only audio, and then levels are off, and then you got to compensate for poor equipment, and it's not fun. It's not fun. When you do solo shows, it's a piece of cake. But yeah, I'll get that all fixed by tomorrow. So, everyone, much love as always. Have a good night. I don't think I'm muted now. I think you could all hear me just fine. So, all right, I'm going to just go fade to black and get out of here. Take care, everybody. Good night.